Hey, welcome back to the Crowdfunding Demystified YouTube channel. My name is Salvador Briggman, and today we're talking about fashion and apparel, and specifically, how do you run a Kickstarter campaign or an Indiegogo campaign for a fashion and apparel product. It's a tiny bit different than some of the other categories, so I really want to create a niche focused video for you, and hopefully you enjoy it. Again, my name is Sal, and it's coming up right after this. Okay, so my fashion and or apparel, I would say, varies definitely from day to day, right? So I'm not talking about me and like fashion and that kind of stuff. I'm more so talking about marketing and business, right? So, I mean, make no mistakes. The fashion industry, the fashion business is all about marketing. And that's because you have to convince people to buy a product for a much inflated price than the actual product cost is, right? It's all about branding. It's all about who this is for. It's all about creating the perception of value. And that's exactly where marketing comes into play. So if you're trying to start a new fashion line or apparel line, this usually is someone who's looking to start a new e-commerce business of some kind. Maybe a thought about what it'd be like if I could be my own boss, right? Start my own career. A lot of people who are just starting this process have that fear of that uncertainty, right? Because you don't know if it's gonna be successful or not. You don't know if you're even gonna get demand for this style that you wanna put out there. And that's really where a website like Kickstarter or Indiegogo comes into play, because it allows you to gather that demand, get validation, get the funding for the actual minimum order quantity, particularly for this project, and even do other stuff that you might not even think about that I've mentioned in a lot of other videos. So this is usually why most people will think about doing a Kickstarter campaign. And then when it comes to sort of the tactics and the tips, that's kind of what I want to explore a little bit in today's video. So the first thing I want to talk about is that you should always study industry examples. And I covered this in one of my videos on like secrets for a Kickstarter campaign, and the reason why you need to look at the vertical that you are launching under. So I've actually done a bunch of different podcasts with fashion related campaigns, and one of the ones that always stands out in my mind is the Kosan travel dress. So if you go and you search my podcast on Spotify or on iTunes, or I also publish a version on YouTube, you can see my interview with the Kosan travel dress. So this team, they actually started with a different product, which is more of like gear and like backpack kind of stuff. And then they pivoted to doing a travel dress that they then released on Kickstarter. And guess how much money this thing raised? You think about fashion apparel, oh, it'd be great if they raised 50K, 100K, 200K, right? They ended up raising $600,000+ for the Kosan travel dress, which was, I'm talking about in Canadian dollars. Actually, I think in Canadian, they raised 900K in Canadian dollars. I have it up here right by me. And we documented the entire story when it comes to this and why it is that this worked with Kickstarter. And you can hear me on the podcast talking to these guys, right? So this is basically a travel dress. It's meant to be great for inflexible and easy to wear, particularly if you're traveling and that kind of an individual. So you should first of all go and study examples just like this. Like I'm giving you one example right now. Go and look through their page. Plug their URL into KickTrack if you can, a KICKTRAQ. Plug it into KickTrack. See how their funding meter progressed. Take a look at the visuals on that actual page. Look through the page and get a sense of how you feel when it is that you're looking through it, right? Look at the perks and the rewards. Check out the comment section. Check out the community. Where are the people coming from, right? Where are they supporting from? That's the first tip that I have for you, is you really want to look at people who have been successful, because there's that saying that success leaves clues. I like to say success leaves footprints, right? And you're almost like a hunter, or you're like a naturalist or survivor of some kind, and you're in the wilderness and you see some footprints, right? And then you have to kind of read the trails, and you have to look at, okay, what kind of animal was this? Were they running? Were they pursuing? Were they doing this? Were they doing that? All you know when you get started is like, here are some footprints. When you start to really study those footprints in nature, then you can see, oh, this is this type of animal, or it was running from this, or it was eating, or was stopping, or was chasing someone else, right? And there's this whole story that you didn't even see or didn't notice the first time you saw those footprints. So you want to do the same thing, right? Except with a Kickstarter campaign. The first thing that you will notice, and the first tip, I think that seems honestly quite obvious, but you'd be surprised the number of campaigns that just don't take this into consideration, is thinking about the archetype. So first of all, let's just pull apart the travel dress, the Kosan travel dress, right? who is this for? There's a very particular female individual who has a certain lifestyle that's going to cater to wearing this kind of dress. Same thing goes, my friend, with any other fashion brand. There's a certain type of person that shops at Primark versus H&M versus Target versus Gap versus Walmart, right? Versus Burberry. There's a different type of archetype when it comes to their socioeconomic status, when it comes to their interest in how they want to be portrayed, the types of styles that they like. If they like jockey, for example, very different type of style than something like you might find on a rack in H&M, right? So you want to think about who this is for in the same way that you would think about that when it comes to the actual fashion items. And then you want to reverse engineer and be like, okay, what does that person care about? What is that person's identity, right? And I can't tell you, in my opinion, when I go into some of these major department stores that I think are archaic and old nowadays, if you compare the advertising in a department store to advertising that you see on social media or on Instagram, it's completely different. Why? You know, it's really interesting to me. It's because it's outdated in department stores. You see models there that you don't relate with at all. They don't look like you. They don't seem in any way like you. And it's not even necessarily aspirational. I go into like an H&M store, I'm like, I don't want to look like this guy, right? I want a model who looks like me or look like someone that I want to emulate. So clearly they haven't necessarily, when it comes to that kind of advertising, done their work when it comes to identifying the customer type, right? But you look on Instagram and it's like, it's on point because there's a lot better data when it comes to online marketing. So you want to think about who is the identity of the customer. How can you tell that within the story? So like a travel dress, are they going to be in Bali on a motorbike? Maybe then going to like a bar or going to a cafe or going to eat dinner or something like that. How are you going to demonstrate the lifestyle of that person and show that in the video and show that on the campaign page to accentuate that this is for them? Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. So let's really quickly take a look at the video here. So I'm looking at the video for the Kosan travel dress. First of all, you see someone in nature there, a lot of different types of backgrounds with a sunset. You see them with some kind of mysterious moss. You see with motorbikes, you see them on a field. You see them in the ocean, right? All the kind of stuff, just shopping for octopus, right? A lot of different stuff, taking photos. So immediately, within the first 20 seconds, you also see them on an airplane. You see them riding a motorbike again. You see them in different locations, different and Asian architecture. Immediately, from the first 20 seconds of that video, I can tell that this is for a traveler. Just based on the backgrounds, based on not even necessarily who the person is, but what it is that they're doing. And that creates the implicit understanding in me that, oh, okay, this is for this type of person. So if we get into minute around 50, we then start to get more into the functionality and the benefits, right? So you can see, for example, a cash and card slot, back ventilation, talks about travel, a lip balm slot, travel friendly, phone pocket, lightweight, adjustable length, all these kind of things, performance fabric. They're just hammering, man, on all of the different benefits. And obviously, if you are a traveler, you're gonna care about back ventilation. You're gonna care about having a passport pocket, multi-day wear, easy to pack because you're obviously traveling. So they're hammering on all of the functionality and the benefits that are valuable for the person who is going to buy the product. They go into talking a little bit about the problem, and then they get even more into things like adjustable length, style it your way. So there are multiple ways in which you can style this, or secret pockets, so you can place anything that you need to explore. Moisture wicking, designed for hot weather climates, wrinkle resistant, right? And while they're talking about these and these benefits, they're also changing the actual frame of the video to show people in different environments, and then talking about the actual making of the product and how it was made, the story behind that, to show that the people who made the product understand you, they understand the customer, they understand the problem, right? And of course, ending the video with that amazing, majestic view there, looking over those mountaintops, almost like this perfected your entire exploration, and that this is something that's going to add value to your life. So it's not just about, obviously the functionality is important. What they're getting your attention with is, this is for you. This is for this type of customer. And obviously you, maybe if you're a traveler, are that type of customer. So they're first getting your attention that way, just the way that I said. And then they're talking about all those high-level benefits and functionality that you care about that are going to make your life easier while you're traveling. If we then go and take a second to scroll down the page here, we're going to see, again, this just kind of repeated. It's repetition, talking about the performance fabric, UV protection, moisture wicking, outdoor, right? Getting into some of the different ways in which you can wear it, why it is that you're going to love it, the different accessories that you're going to be using as an individual while you are wearing the dress. So like, for example, the sunglasses, right? If you're traveling, you're probably wearing sunglasses. There's a camera there. Why is a camera there when they're not selling camera equipment? It's there to give that implicit understanding of, oh, this is how I would pair this outfit. This is what I'd be doing while I'm wearing this outfit. You also got the passport, you got the watch, right? You have the hat there. All these things are almost like complementing that outfit, and it gives you this visual image in your mind like, oh, I could pair it with this, I could wear it with this, I could see how this could work with my wardrobe. It then gets even more into like the stretchy fabric and how you can't have too many pockets, and if that's obviously an issue with traditional dresses, you don't have a lot of pockets. So they just go through all of the different major benefits, and then even talking about other Instagrammers that are quoting it. And then it's finally, they get more into the logical things like, what is the size? Is it small, medium, and large? What are the different style options? All of that kind of stuff, and the different rewards that you can actually claim. So looking through this, you know, it seems initially like really well done and graphics and design. But if we were actually just break it down the way that I just did, it's not really that fancy, man. It's not even necessarily that complicated. They're just doing and following the formula that I talk about in the Kickstarter launch formula. They're doing exactly that. And this is something that you can also do if you act almost as like a studious person as a student when you're looking through these different campaigns. Pay attention to what it is they're doing and the perceptions that you're having in your own mind. For example, when I was watching that video, I was imagining some of my own travels when I went to Cambodia or when I went to Thailand or Colombia or these different places. So it was bringing and jogging back those memories. And I think in my own mind, actually, it would have been nice if I had like maybe like even a t-shirt that I could easily wash. I didn't have to wear, you know, have all these different t-shirts in my bag. So by having those different settings and those different elements in the video and also throughout the page, it cues you to remember and put yourself in that mindset the last time you traveled, and you start to remember like, oh yeah, that actually was a huge issue, or that was a big problem. It would be nice to have that. It gets you in the frame of mind of thinking about the problem in and of itself, versus if you just had the dress, right, and maybe you just hammered on some of the functionality, it's not going to have that same emotional appeal. It's not going to capture the common phrase is capture the imagination in that way, when really all it means is cueing certain memories in your mind, or cueing certain mental associations to put you in the mental framework of even thinking about the problem, versus if you don't have those kinds of cues, if you don't have that kind of flavorful, emotional kind of visual imagery in your mind, you're not going to be thinking about the problem in and of itself. You're like, I don't need a travel dress. I'm not traveling anywhere, right? Think about that. If I was to just go to the page and they told me there's a travel dress, and I was like, I don't need that. I'm not traveling anywhere. That's like a logical conclusion. But if I started to see all of these images and I started to think about traveling, I started to be like, man, I'd love to go to Spain someday, or I'd love to go to Italy again someday, right? Then I started to think about travel, and then I started to think about the way the product could fit into my future. So it's a different mindset shift, if that makes sense. Okay, so there are two more tips that I want to give you that go beyond just the Kosan travel dress when it comes to you and doing a fashion and apparel related campaign. So the first one is that you either need to be the one who is breaking out a Google document and just taking tons and tons of notes of the type of stuff that you want to put into that campaign and the best practices, and really just doing your homework. The other option would be to hire a coach like myself to help you out, or to hire an external marketing agency, or to hire a marketer to help you out. So that has to happen in some way. Success is not an accident. You're not just going to go down the road, for example, and magically there's going to be a house that appears out of nowhere. There's going to be a time where someone's had the thought, oh, it'd be a good financial investment to build a house. How do we start building that house? Let's create some blueprints. Let's select the land. Let's select the foundation. Let's then decide the style of house. Let's put in the windows. Let's put in the doors. It's a process that happened. It all started with someone thinking about it, right? Same thing goes with you. You basically have had that thought that you want to do a Kickstarter. Now it comes to planning and the processing, and you can do it all yourself, or probably if you want to build a home, you're going to consult an architect, right? Or you're going to consult a contractor, someone to help you out. Same thing goes with this particular industry. The next tip that I have for you is to think a little bit about budgeting and how it is that you're going to pull this off. So be realistic. Obviously there is a massive community on Kickstarter, but if you want to make the most of that community, you probably also want to have a marketing budget of some kind. So you want to set aside a bit of money if you can in order to hit the bigger numbers, if that's really what you're trying to go for. You're trying to do something small, maybe doesn't matter as much, but if you're trying to really knock this thing out of the park, then you probably want to have a marketing budget there as well. And the last thing I have, a tip I have for you is just take advantage of these free resources, man. Like, go and listen to podcast interviews, go and check out my free course on Kickstarter. You can just go and check out that down below. Check out my very inexpensive audiobook. Like, there's just so much great resources out there. I've been working for years to put out stuff for you to make this process so much simpler and so much easier. And it would actually be amazing if when you are successful, you do get a bit of funding, you can come on my podcast and you can just tell your story, right? That's the whole point. It's meant to be an ecosystem. It's meant to be a community where people are having success, and then they're kind of not only communicating well with the backers and making sure they have a good backer community, but they're also paying it forward to other creators. Back in the day, people don't remember this, but back in the day, back in 2012, there was this concept called kicking it forward, which is after doing a Kickstarter, you would kick it forward and you would help other people in some way with a campaign, whether that's backing another person's campaign or sharing your story or giving tips or those types of things. So kick it forward, my friend. And if you can, if you are successful and you apply those principles, come back on the show, a podcast with me, and we can talk about your story. But again, my name is Salvador Briggman. Thank you for joining me on this video. Give me a thumbs up if you liked it and start to spur some questions or thoughts in your mind that you maybe didn't think about before. Leave a comment down below so that other people also know it's worth their time. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.